to be in the joint Sunday school class, hearing the story of Tariq and his family. I invite you to come into the sanctuary now. Those of you who are here, welcome. Everybody's got their coffee? Had their coffee? Okay. Yeah, there's somebody shutting the doors now, so if it's not your last chance. If you get intrigued and want to come in, you're welcome. Well, I would consider it an honor to be able to welcome Tariq Abdul Halima, who is here with us from Bluffton University, where he is a master's student and the graduate assistant at the Lion and Lamb Peace Center, who is also from Gaza. And when we were asked if we would like to hear his story, we felt like it was a unique and rare opportunity to hear directly from somebody who has family members who are living through this catastrophe that is the bombardment of Gaza in these days. So Tariq brought a PowerPoint, so you'll be seeing slides up here, but I've asked Tariq to speak up from the platform so that you can see him while you're also seeing the slides. So with that, let's pause for a brief prayer of centering, and then we'll hand it over to Tariq. Let's pray. Holy God, you who cry out with us and with the Palestinian people for peace, for justice, for freedom, for an end to the horrific bombing. We do pray that your Spirit would be present among us, that our hearts would be tender, and that you would empower Tariq to tell his story in ways that we will receive it and join in your community globally, compassionately, tenderly, seeking good and seeking your presence for all people in all places. In your holy name we pray. Amen. Tariq.
Hi, everyone. Thanks. So, first, thanks for the introduction, and thanks for inviting me to speak to you here. So, I'm starting my PowerPoint with. Is it too loud? Okay. So, I'm starting my PowerPoint with a picture of Palestine from 1948, and this picture debunks the fact that, or debunks the claim that Palestine was a desert and they made the desert bloom, and that's how they were urged to establish the so-called Israel. And as we see in the picture, the life that Palestinians were having in this land, living together peacefully, Jewish, Christians, and Muslims. And then here is the picture where the so-called Israel is established, and from where my grandparents were displaced, and where the very apartheid so-called Israel is established, and the land that I am with my family and with my people are not allowed to visit, because we were born in the Gaza Strip and we were born Palestinians. So when I was, sorry, the PowerPoint is not put together in a very good or appealing way, so I have prepared it like in a rush. So in 2008, I grew up in the Gaza Strip. So in 2008, I was a fifth grader, and it was the first time for me to experience the Israeli attacks and the assault that they launch every other year on the Gaza Strip. And for me, it was something new. And I remember I was going to school, and they started the attacks sometime at noon when the shifts at schools happen. So I was just going to school. We were doing exams, and it started there. On that day only, around like 300 people were killed. It was a massacre, and they were trying to get rid of Hamas. 2008, and since then they have been attacking the Gaza Strip under this claim, under this excuse, triggering more violence and not finding a good solution, or a solution that works for all, for Palestinians and Israelis. So this is my family. I am the youngest of a 15-member family. I have 13 brothers and sisters. I have 7 brothers and 5 sisters. This is my mom, and this is my oldest brother. I grew in a big family, and yeah, it was always so vibrant, and it was always I don't know how to describe it, but you'd know so everything would be a big celebration. Every birthday would be a big event because everyone is attending, and so this is quite of part of the culture of Gaza, that people are warm, and there's a collective sense of celebrating things and doing things. In 2012, 2014, the attacks kept going on, and they hit again, back again, and so many people lost their lives for that claim again that is happening right now, and I am sure that is not going to be achieved soon. And the result is that we always lose more lives. And also, at this point of time, Palestinians started to get frustrated with how they are depicted to the world and how they are pictured in the news. And how, like, when 1,000 Palestinians are killed on the average right now, everyone is talking about October 7th, where 1,000 people were killed. I'm not belittling or losing sympathy for civilians' life, but the thing is, also right now, something that we can do something about is happening, and at least on the average every day 1,000 people are killed in Gaza, and you are still talking about October 7th and justifying the killing. People are still talking about October 7th and justifying the killing of more and more Palestinians in Gaza under the same claim that was put forward in 2008, 2012, 2014, and lately 2021. So as what happens everywhere, whatever happens, you need to go to school. So I went to school, and I graduated from high school in 2015. And I graduated from Al-Azhar Institute, and at Al-Azhar Institute, students are allowed to go to university on a scholarship. So I was lucky in this part. The school I was going to was renting some of its land to the university, and instead of taking money, they were sending students, the best students of their of their school to the university for free or on a scholarship. So I was one of them. So when I went to university, I majored in Arabic language and mass media. And I was very passionate about media and journalism and Arabic language and this stuff. But then after a while, I figured out that the market was not really appreciative of this major, and I had to change my major to English language, you know. So I did start learning English language. It was very challenging. I started late in life. I was not like very passionate about English language in my, you know, when I was younger. So yes, it was really challenging to learn the language, but it was really enjoyable at the same time. So when I went to university, I met Khalid and Salah Jadallah. And Khalid and Salah Jadallah were two of the best students, really. I majored in English language for educational purposes, while they majored in English language for literature purposes. And so they were smarter, and they were analyzing the language and doing some kind of writing and poetry and stuff like this. So I was inspired by how much they were eloquent and skilled at using the language, you know. And we were friends for 4 years at university and even after university. So as people got fed up with the attacks that have been taking place in Gaza, people came out of the initiative of approaching the border peacefully, non-violently, standing up for their rights and telling the people around the world the truth that has been hidden from them. So we started the Great March of Return in 2018, 2019, and I was an active participant of the Great March of Return. So we marched the border, and we called for international media and agencies to come and cover the event. And at that time, Gaza was declared by the United Nations to be unsuitable for life in 2020. And we were on just the verge of living in a place that really can't be suitable for life. And people are neglecting Palestinians and Gaza people. I mean, people around the world are neglecting, or governments around the world are neglecting the Palestinians and their right of self-determination and to have an independent state on their own. So as we kept going on with these marches of return, camping on the border, we started to get some attention of the world. So Israel was not happy with this. They were not satisfied with this. So they started to meet these demonstrations with violence, with media, international media coverage. And they were described in the news as clashes instead of demonstrations. And they were accusing people of being armed, although every footage, every video came out of these marches was showing the opposite, but people were lied to, and they were buying it, you know, to some extent. They were buying the lie, and it was working for the Israeli part. They made it look that it was like a clash, and it was violent, and thus they met it with violence. They killed around 223 people, and a huge number of people get injured, around 8,000 people, and even more. So at some point for me, I started to see that it was failing, and if I keep participating in the Great March of Return, I might be the next one to be injured or to be killed. So I just stopped going there, and thus, and the same so many people did. So that's how it started to just fall apart and not happen anymore. At the great marches of return and at these events we were carrying there, I met Ahmed al-Na'ouq, and Ahmed al-Na'ouq is one of the leading figures, youth figures in Palestine. He was one of the people who established We Are Not Numbers. And We Are Not Numbers is an organization that works on telling the stories of people in the Gaza Strip. Not only the stories of destruction and war, because it's always in the news when you listen about Gaza, but also the stories of hope, love, success, marriage, regular things that people do in their lives. And it was really successful. It was attracting world audiences. And I was really and truly inspired by Ahmed and the work that he was doing. He was really passionate about We Are Not Numbers. I was part of it for some time, and yeah, it was good and it was working. At least it was working as kind of counter media to the media, to the world media and to the Israeli media. In 2019, I graduated from university, and I kept my scholarship. And at that time, I was speaking English very well. So yeah, I started to Now, as I graduated from university, I started to look up for jobs, and the first contract I got after some part-time jobs is working with UNRWA schools. And UNRWA stands for United Nations Relief and Work Agency. And in Gaza, we have 278 UNRWA schools. And because of the very high population of the Gaza Strip, these schools work on double shift basis. So we have 278 schools. So this means we have double the number. So these schools have two administrations, all of them. Some of them have 3 administrations. So these schools have 2 administrations, morning administration and afternoon administration. And these administrations are independent, different teachers, different students, different everything. And because also of the high population, at least in a classroom you will find on the average 40 students. And this made education very difficult. Very difficult and very challenging because, again, it goes down to the high population and how it is affecting the infrastructure, the education, the medication of people and everything. So I worked with UNRWA schools for 3 months, but I always felt that I wanted to do something like Ahmed al-Na'ouq. So still Ahmed was kind of inspiring for me, and I was still active in community events and stuff like this. So after 3 months, I resigned from UNRWA schools and started working with Youth Vision Society. And Youth Vision Society is a non-profit in Gaza that aims at developing women, children, and at women, youth, and protecting children. So I worked with Youth Vision Society. I found that Youth Vision Society was the place I wanted to be at and work, and the team that I wanted to work with. So at Youth Vision Society, I met Dua al-Masri, Dua in the blue shirt, and Dua was the manager of Edward Said Public Library. And Edward Said Public Library had two branches, one in Gaza City and one in northern Gaza. And these libraries were working with the refugee camps in Gaza, okay? And they were aiming at working with the children and youth by providing computer learning, English language learning, trainings, and providing safe space for reading books and borrowing them. And then I launched a project called Youth Influencers for a Change. And this project aimed at educating the people on their rights, but not talking to the people directly, but rather talking to youth influencers on social media, recruiting them, educating them, and then have them post about what they learned. And on the average, each one of these influencers had 20,000 followers on one of the social networking sites, whether Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. So it was really good that we had access to this number of people collectively with one click, and the project was gaining momentum, and it was really successful. So after we do the education with the youth influencers, we either go to the grassroots communities and work with them and tell them about their rights, and then or we actually we do all of this. So we do this at the grassroots communities, and then we post about this on social media, and also we invite duty bearers and officials, and we hold them accountable, and we ask them about the situation in Gaza and what you are planning to do. And thus, I was invited to attend two conferences in Sweden in 2021 and 2022 to represent the youth work in Gaza in terms of the NGO work and the developmental work. And I went there, I attended conferences, I spoke to people, and I was always highlighting how much important it is to keep this work going on and to push it forward. And as being inspired by Ahmed al-Naouk, when I got back to Gaza from Sweden, I started the project of Palestine Talks. The same idea of we are not numbers. We get people from universities or whatever, people who are interested in this project, and we build up their capacities in English and creative writing, and then we have them tell their own stories, okay? After being connected one-on-one with editors from the USA. And then we publish these stories with We Are Not Numbers. And working on this project, I met Yusuf Dawas. Yusuf Dawas is a friend who was really passionate about music. He loved playing guitar, and he inspired me to do so. So I started learning music, and I started playing oud, not guitar, because I found it really more intriguing and more but he was passionate about the guitar. So yes, we started doing this to the extent that I started to play some little pieces of popular music, popular songs. After that, after Palestine talks, I got to be connected with Bluffton University. So with Bluffton University, the connection started in a very strange way. I was talking to a Mennonite friend over Zoom. We were meeting for a project or something, and he told me whether I could help a professor from Bluffton University who was struggling with finding students to connect with his students at Bluffton, because there was supposed to be a cultural exchange trip that was canceled because of COVID-19 restrictions, and he decided with the university to do it virtually, and they decided to recruit people from Gaza. So I did reach out to him, and I recruited 15 students from the Gaza Strip and connected them one-on-one to the students from Gaza. For people in Gaza and for students in Gaza, it was kind of rich learning journey to be connected with students from the USA, and it was the same for the USA students, plus they passed their courses. They were not late. And after that, Paul Weaver, the director of Bluffton Peace Arts Center, told me that there was a position that they are offering at the center, and whether I could apply for this. So I did apply, but I never imagined it would work this way, and I would get it and travel to the USA and work on this program. So I applied for the position, I got it, and then I started to struggle with the visa stuff and the visa application with the US consulate, because I was from Gaza again. But it worked in the end that I came to Bluffton University, and I started with Lion and Lamb Peace Arts Center. And in the Lion and Lamb Peace Arts Center, we focus on teaching peace to children through arts, storytelling sessions, and stuff like this. And at first, settling down or settling in Bluffton was really hard because for me, it was the first time for me to travel on a long-term basis. And as the youngest of my family, I was not very much independent, so I was reliant on my parents and my brothers and sisters in doing stuff. So I was not doing things at home. I was not cooking. I was not doing laundry and stuff like this. So it was really tough. And my sisters started to help by kind of telling me what to do. And my sister Reem, I was one time frustrated, told me, you know what, I'm going to be available on the internet 24/7. When you want to do something, just call me and I will reply, I promise. And she did, and we started doing these small stuff until I learned everything about how to do these small things. I never imagined that they would be so challenging. So I settled in Bluffton. And then the attacks of October started against the Gaza Strip, justified by the attacks of October 7th, and covered also and justified by the international media coverage. So the first news I got that Khalid and Salah were killed, were there with their family in one of the bombardment. And then I figured out that all of the family members, 21 people of Ahmad al-Na'uq, were killed while he was in Britain doing his master's in mass media. And then recently, only 3 days ago, I got the news that Dua was killed, who was the manager of Edward Said Public Library, was killed with two of her siblings and her mother. Dua could not evacuate to the south of Gaza because she had a brother with Down syndrome, and they were afraid that he would be frightened at the checkpoint or on the road of the evacuation, as it was a road of terror. People have reported that they have seen bodies on the evacuation road, and body parts, and people not getting the chance to be buried. And it was terrifying for some people that they could not go on this evacuation road, and they started to call it the road of terror, not the road of evacuation. And Dua could not evacuate with her brother, and she decided to be one of the family members who would stay and not evacuate, while some people of the family, so they decided that some people of the family would evacuate and some people would stay with her brother Fehmi, who had Down syndrome. And only 3 days ago, she was bombed with her mother and her siblings, and her brother Fehmi and another brother. Also, Yusuf, who was really passionate about the guitar and learning music and traveling and doing fun things, was killed. My sisters Randa, Reem, and Nana were killed too, and it was really, at first, it was really difficult to comprehend that Randa was suffocating from the white phosphorus, that she was very frightened, that she could not just, take the fact that white phosphorus was close to them, because in the news we always heard about the white phosphorus and how it is terrifying. So she really suffered asthma, and when the white phosphorus was bombed around our neighborhood, she could not put up with it. So she was breathing very hard, and there was a curfew. No one was supposed to go to the hospital. If you go out of the street, you are a militant resistance or a resistance militant, and you're going to be killed. So only half an hour after this, she passed away and she lost her consciousness. Reem and Nana on the road of evacuation again, amongst all people, because there's a sniper who is picking up on people and who to shoot and who not to shoot. And because there is no international accountability for this army only, were shot by a sniper, not by bombing, not by taking anyone else. They were, amongst all people, were shot by a sniper. My uncle had his leg amputated a week ago when his house was bombed while he was inside, and he stayed in the Baptist hospital, and the massacre of the Baptist hospital was committed while he was being under medication there, and he lost his leg. And when the evacuation of the hospital was ordered by Israel, two of his sons who were staying with him decided to evacuate him on the bed where he was staying, with everything connected to him. So they evacuated him and they ran out of the hospital with the bed. And they stayed in a garage for 2 days after the hospital was ordered to evacuate. And then he was evacuated to southern Gaza, but because of the shortage of medication, not the shortage, because of the collapse of the medical system in Gaza, he was not provided with the health care he needed, and he passed away a week ago. This was Gaza before October 2023. It was a city, very calm city, a city that was vibrant and full of life, full of colors, full of young people and youth who were seeking and running after their dreams and ambitions and trying to live their lives, although and in spite of the injustices that they have been facing and imposed on them by the Israeli army. And this is Gaza right now, after the invasion of the Israeli army. So after all of this, I was thinking of dedicating a minute of silence and prayers to the souls that we have lost in this conflict in the Gaza Strip. So yeah. Thanks. I appreciate this. Okay.
We do have some time for questions and responses. If you have something you'd like to ask Tariq here in the last 10 minutes. Gwen.
I just want to first say thank you, Tariq, for sharing of your story and your reality. And I just recognize how profound and how bizarre it is that even as we gather here, the killing continues. And so I just express my condolences and for your losses and that have continued. And I am guessing that I speak for many of us, that we are really sorry that this has happened. And we will do whatever we can to continue to put pressure on our government to continue to bring a stop to the horrific violence that's going on.
Tariq, have heard about the isolation and restrictions of anything movement in and out of Gaza Strip for years. How did you get permission to travel to Sweden or here?
Mm-hmm. Actually, for people in Gaza, the people who travel outside of Gaza only constitute less than 1% of the population, and I was one of the lucky 1%. So you are not allowed to travel out of Gaza because of the, as you mentioned, the restrictions on movement, and you are not allowed to get into the Gaza Strip because they already have taken the decision for you as a foreigner or a person from outside Gaza. So they tell you it's dangerous, you are not allowed to travel or to get into Gaza. Not it's dangerous and take care, no. So you are not allowed to. They have taken the decision. And And for us to travel outside Gaza, you only need a very justifiable reason to go outside the Gaza Strip. So my reason was I was going for study purposes, and my invitation was from a US-based university, so it was hard for them to decline the invitation or to decline my visa. And to get the visa, I was supposed to visit the US consulate in Jerusalem. So it was really challenging. It took me something around like 5 to 6 months of coordination, while it was supposed to take only like 2 or 3 weeks. And this is the case with a person who's seeking his study, you know. So yeah, it's difficult, but we try to work it out sometimes. Yeah.
Tariq, I have a question. I don't know if I can articulate it well. I'm going to say it comes out of understanding somewhat of what has transpired over all these 75 years. It comes also from your iteration of so-called Israel and the Israeli justification that everyone, or Hamas at least, does not want to recognize the Israel and would like to have Israel destroyed. So I could understand how the entire population in Gaza would feel that way, that they would want that to happen. So I kind of want to ask about the general feeling, and is it amongst most of the young men that they would like to join Hamas to get this accomplished, or how are they feeling about, is everyone supporting Hamas and that kind of thing? Yeah.
Okay. So because of the echo, I'm going to reframe the question. So your question is, what people generally think of Hamas in Gaza? Young generations, yeah? Okay, I appreciate this. So the thing is not a point of decision. Actually, in 2021, the United Nations reports showed that unemployment rates in Gaza were getting something around 50%, while poverty rates were getting something around 70%. And in such conditions, people, try to put up with life and go on. But when killing is added, and you know that all of this is happening because of the military outposts that are being installed around the Gaza Strip, and that are instructed to shoot anyone who gets near them, it starts to feel like revenge. And when family members are killed, it starts to feel like it's kind of generational revenge. It passes on if economic enhancement is not in place, or measures are taken to stop this. I mean, you are blockading a whole population of the world. They are blockading a whole population of the world, and they are depriving them of every right and every life luxury. What they expect from them, to throw roses and on them. So it's illogic how they think of it, and what they expect from Palestinians. I think the peace that we in Gaza hold and bring to the world is the most valuable, because this peace was generated from an environment of violence. This peace, these people are holding onto this peace very hard, like they were not born with this peace. They seek it, they want it, they value it, while at the same time they are met with violence And a huge number of this population are taking the decision to not meet violence with violence again. Yeah.
Here we go, Katie.
Thank you so much for sharing about your experience today. My understanding is that many organizations that had been operating in Gaza have pulled their aid workers and are not able to provide services now. Who are the people or organizations that are providing relief to refugees and people who have been displaced?
You mean who are the organizations that are helping now in this situation? Actually, the system has really collapsed, and especially the medical system. So on the average, and this is not covered in the news because it's not urgent, on the average around 100 people of the injuries pass away because they do not get the treatment that they are supposed to get. This is one case. I mean, in terms of the hospitals, the largest medical complex, Al-Shifa Hospital, was destroyed. And it's not only that organizations were displaced and took out their staff. It's also that the places that these organizations operated are distracted right now. So people are in a mess, and it was not out of nothing that Guterres called for activating Article 99. It is a humanitarian disaster that is happening in Gaza right now.
What would your wish be for how the Palestinian and Israelis would be living in the future?
Actually, I think Palestinians have always made huge peace offerings, and the Palestine Authority is still committed to Oslo Accords, even in the middle of this catastrophe. This shows the resilience of the Palestinians to fail the Israeli plan to destroy the future that Palestinians are taking hold of. And Palestinians living inside Israel have shown a huge example that wouldn't take place in any place in the world of coexistence and of peace and of living together. And yes, so these things still show hope of a future of peace, but still Israeli government is not serious about their agreements, are not serious about the peacemaking process. They think about everything in terms of power and money, and they think that's what it takes. Yeah.
Take time for one more. If there's anyone else have another question.
What do you think folks like us, what is your hope? What do you think folks like us can do to help you and your family and your people?
Actually, it starts from here, and I hope that the awareness that is in this room would exist in more and more places around the USA. It's important what you are doing. You need to keep talking and keep posting and not get tired of raising awareness of the people about this cause, because people in Gaza are living these atrocities and calamities. And yes, I mean, it is so, it is, I don't know how to describe it, but we need to make the U.S. administration not stand in the middle between the U.S. people and peoples around the world because of their insane political instances. People started to think that USA people think the same way that U.S. administration is doing, and this is not fair. So I think people in the USA need to stop having the U.S. administration turning cold shoulder to their opinions. I mean, what's happening in Gaza is mere killing. It is mass murdering, and only 2 days ago, the U.S. administration vetoed the stopping of the war, and it's really insane. I hope this stops, and I hope that people in the USA will have enough pressure to tell this administration to stop, and this is not correct. This is not how you resolve a conflict. You are, as an administration, claiming to teach the world how to build peace and resolve conflict, and when you are in position of conflict resolution and peacemaking, you are going for the option of mass murdering. It's just insane. Yeah, thanks.
Well, please join me in expressing our deep appreciation for Tariq.
Thanks. I appreciate this.
And my guess is he might have a minute or two if you want to come up and have a brief conversation. Thank you so much, Tariq.